X shows up after 7 years expecting me to take him back. I introduce him to my new husband and kids. His reaction? Stalk me and try to ruin my career. I, 33F, am still reeling from what happened last week. My ex-husband, Adam, 35M, showed up at my doorstep out of nowhere after 7 years of no contact. I was completely blindsided, and I'm still trying to process it all. Adam and I met during our sophomore year of college. We were both part of the same study group for an advanced economics class. I remember being drawn to his quick wit and confidence right away. He had this magnetic personality that just pulled people in. We started dating a few months later, and it felt like a whirlwind romance. After graduation, we both landed entry-level jobs at competing financial firms in the city. It was an exciting time. We were young, in love, and starting our careers. We'd spend our evenings comparing notes on office politics and dreaming about our future together. Adam was always the more ambitious one, talking about climbing the corporate ladder and making partner by 30. We got married at 24, which felt right at the time, but in hindsight was probably too young. The wedding was a lavish affair, mostly paid for by Adam's well-off parents. I remember feeling like a princess that day, twirling in my white gown while Adam beamed at me. We honeymooned in Bali for 2 weeks, sipping cocktails on the beach and making plans for our life together. The first couple years of marriage were good, at least on the surface. We both threw ourselves into our careers, working long hours to impress our bosses. We bought our first home, a charming colonial in a good school district. We talked about starting a family soon, maybe once we both made it to the next level at work. But looking back, I can see the cracks starting to form even then. Adam was becoming more and more consumed by his job. He'd come home late, still checking emails on his phone. Weekends were spent networking at charity golf tournaments rather than spending time together. I tried to be supportive, knowing how important his career was to him. But I was starting to feel lonely and neglected. Things really started to change around year 3 of our marriage. Adam got a big promotion to junior VP, which he'd been gunning for. I was thrilled for him at first, but the reality of his new role quickly set in. He was traveling 3 to 4 days a week, leaving me alone in our big house. When he was home, he was distant and irritable, snapping at me over little things like leaving dishes in the sink. I tried everything I could think of to reconnect with him. I'd planned special date nights or weekend getaways, only to have him cancel at the last minute for work. I suggested couples counseling, but he dismissed the idea, saying we were fine and I was being overdramatic. I started to wonder if he even wanted to be married anymore. Then came the day that ended our marriage. It was a Tuesday, and Adam was supposed to be in Chicago for meetings. I had invited my childhood best friend, Olivia, 33F, over for lunch and some much-needed girl time. Olivia and I had known each other since we were 5. Our moms were best friends, and we grew up more like sisters than friends. She knew all about the problems with Adam and was there to offer support. We were sitting in the living room sharing a bottle of wine and catching up when we heard the front door open. Adam walked in, home a day early to surprise me. The moment he saw Olivia, his face clouded over with anger and suspicion. Without a word, he turned and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I ran after him, confused and scared by his reaction. I tried to explain that Olivia was just visiting, but he peeled out of the driveway before I could reach him. I called and texted him nonstop for the next few hours, growing more frantic with each unanswered message. 3 days later, I was served with divorce papers at my office. I was blindsided and devastated. How could he throw away our 5-year marriage without even talking to me? I tried repeatedly to reach out and explain the situation with Olivia, but Adam refused to hear me out. He was convinced I was cheating, and nothing I said could change his mind. The divorce was ugly and painful. Adam's lawyer painted me as an adulterer, even though there was zero evidence to support it. They brought up every girl's night out, every male coworker I'd ever mentioned, twisting innocent friendships into something sordid. I was too heartbroken and shell-shocked to fight back much. In the end, I walked away with very little just to be done with it all. The next few years were a blur of grief and healing. I threw myself into my career, working long hours to avoid going home to an empty apartment. I cut ties with most of our mutual friends, too hurt by the ones who believed Adam's version of events. I started seeing a therapist to work through my trust issues and fear of abandonment. Slowly but surely, I started to rebuild my life. I got a promotion at work and moved to a new city for the job. I made new friends and even tried dating again, though nothing serious stuck. I was finally starting to feel like myself again, no longer defined by my failed marriage. 4 years after the divorce, I attended a conference for work in San Diego. There, I bumped into Jake, 34am, an old friend from college who I hadn't seen in years. We grabbed coffee to catch up, and the spark was instant. Unlike Adam, Jake was warm, attentive, and actually listened when I talked. We started dating long distance and took things slow, both of us a little guarded from past heartbreaks. After a year, Jake got a job offer in my city and moved to be with me. We got married 2 years later in a small, intimate ceremony, the opposite of my wedding to Adam. Last year, we welcomed twin boys, Ethan and Noah. Becoming a mother has been the most challenging and rewarding experience of my life. Watching Jake with our sons, so patient and loving, makes me fall in love with him all over again every day. I really thought I had finally put the past behind me. I was truly happy with my new life and family. Then last Tuesday, the doorbell rang while I was home with the twins. I opened it without checking first. Bad habit I need to break. There stood Adam, looking older but still handsome in an expensive suit, holding a bouquet of red roses. I was too shocked to speak at first. Adam started talking, saying he'd recently run into Olivia at a work conference. She'd told him the truth about that day 7 years ago, that she was just visiting as a friend. He said he felt terrible for jumping to conclusions and ruining our marriage. He wanted to apologize and see if we could try again. I stood there in disbelief as he rambled on about second chances and still having feelings for me. Did he seriously think I'd just been waiting around for him all this time? That I'd drop everything and take him back after how he treated me? Finally finding my voice, I cut him off mid-sentence. I told him in no uncertain terms that I was happily married with children now. His face fell as I explained that he was 7 years too late for apologies or reconciliation. Just then, one of the twins started crying. I excused myself and went to get Ethan. When I returned to the door holding the baby, Adam looked like he'd seen a ghost. The reality of my new life seemed to finally sink in for him. He mumbled something about making a mistake and turned to leave. As he walked away, I felt a mix of emotions, lingering anger over the past, pity for his delusions, but mostly relief that I had moved on to a much better life without him. I spent the rest of the day in a daze, processing what had happened. When Jake got home from work, I told him everything. He was supportive as always, holding me while I cried a bit from the stress of the encounter. We agreed to be extra vigilant about home security for a while, just in case. It's been almost a week now, and I haven't heard anything more from Adam. I'm hopeful that he's finally accepted reality and will leave us alone. But a part of me is still uneasy. Why show up out of the blue after all this time? How did he even find my new address? I'm trying not to let this disrupt the happy life I've built. But I'd be lying if I said it hasn't brought up some old wounds and anxieties. For now, I'm focusing on my amazing husband and beautiful boys. They are my world, and no ghost from the past can change that. Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and unfortunately, I have more to share. I really hoped that would be the end of things with Adam, but it seems he's not ready to let go. A couple weeks after his surprise visit, I started getting texts and calls from an unknown number. At first, I ignored them, assuming they were spam. But then I got a voicemail that made my blood run cold. It was Adam, saying he couldn't stop thinking about me and wanted to meet up to talk more. I immediately blocked the number and told Jake what was happening. He was furious and wanted to confront Adam, but I convinced him that would only escalate things. Instead, we agreed to document everything in case we needed to get authorities involved. Things were quiet for about a week after that. I started to relax, thinking maybe Adam had finally gotten the message. But then last Saturday, things took an even more unsettling turn. I was at the grocery store with the twins when I got this feeling of being watched. I looked around and spotted Adam a few aisles over, pretending to shop while clearly keeping an eye on me. When he saw that I'd noticed him, he actually had the nerve to approach me with a big smile, as if we were old friends bumping into each other. I was shaking with anger and fear as he came up to me. Before he could say anything, I told him in no uncertain terms to leave me and my family alone. I said if he contacted me again in any way, I would file for a restraining order. He tried to argue that he just wanted to talk, but I cut him off. I said there was nothing to discuss. Our relationship ended 7 years ago when he chose to throw it away without even talking to me. I told him I had moved on completely and was happier than I'd ever been. His presence in my life now was unwelcome and, frankly, creepy. Adam's face hardened as I spoke. He muttered something about me still being angry and how I'd come around eventually. Then he turned and walked away. The whole encounter left me badly shaken. I called Jake as soon as I got to the car and he came to meet me. We decided enough was enough. It was time to take legal action. On Monday, we filed for a temporary restraining order against Adam. The hearing is set for next week to determine if it will be made permanent. I've been a nervous wreck ever since the grocery store incident. I'm jumpy and having trouble sleeping. Jake has been amazing through all of this, but I can tell it's taking a toll on him too. We're both worried about how far Adam might go in his delusions. We've stepped up security at home. New locks, cameras, the works. I'm not letting the twins out of my sight. It breaks my heart that this man from my past is now threatening the beautiful life and family I've built. I'm trying to stay strong, but some days it's hard. The Adam I thought I knew and loved all those years ago is clearly gone, replaced by this unstable person I don't recognize. I'm angry that he's putting me through this, but also sad for the person he's become. As I wait for the hearing, I've been reflecting a lot on my relationship with Adam and how I ended up here. I remember how charming and attentive he was when we first started dating. He would surprise me with little gifts and plan elaborate dates. I felt like the luckiest girl in the world. But looking back, I can see the red flags I missed. Adam always had to be the center of attention, often interrupting or talking over me in social situations. He was intensely jealous, questioning me about male classmates or coworkers. He had a temper and would give me the silent treatment for days if we argued. I made excuses for his behavior, chalking it up to stress from school or work. I convinced myself that if I was just a better girlfriend, then wife, he would change. Now I realize how toxic and manipulative our relationship really was. It's hard not to blame myself sometimes. If I had been stronger, set better boundaries, maybe things would have turned out differently. But my therapist reminds me that Adam's actions are not my fault. He chose to throw away our marriage without even trying to talk things through. I'm so grateful for Jake and how different our relationship is. He encourages me to pursue my own interests and friendships. We communicate openly and work through disagreements as a team. With Jake, I feel truly seen and valued as a partner. The contrast between my marriages has made me realize how much I've grown and healed over the years. I'm proud of the life I've built and the mother I've become. I won't let Adam's reappearance undo all of that progress. The hearing can't come soon enough. I just want this nightmare to be over so we can get back to our normal, happy life. I'll update again after the hearing. Wish us luck. Update 2. I know it's been a while since my last update. A lot has happened, and honestly, I needed some time to process it all before sharing. The restraining order hearing was intense. Adam showed up with a high-powered lawyer, trying to paint himself as a misunderstood guy just wanting to reconnect with an old friend. Thankfully, the judge saw through it. Between the unwanted messages, the grocery store incident, and statements from Jake and some neighbors who had noticed Adam lurking around our house, we were granted a 1-year restraining order. I felt such relief walking out of that courtroom. I really thought that would be the end of it. But Adam had one more nasty surprise in store. About a week after the hearing, I got a call from my boss asking me to come in for an urgent meeting. When I arrived, I was shocked to find Adam there with the head of HR. Apparently, he had contacted my company with concerns about my professional conduct, insinuating that I had pursued him inappropriately and was now trying to cover it up. I was floored. Not only was he lying, but he was actively trying to damage my career. Fortunately, my boss knows me well and didn't buy Adam's story for a second. They actually apologized to me for even entertaining his claims and assured me my job was safe. Still, the whole thing left me shaken. How far was Adam willing to go in his vendetta against me? I started to worry about what else he might try. Jake and I had some long talks and made a tough decision. We're moving. We found a house in a nearby town and will be relocating next month. It's not ideal, especially for the twins who are just starting to make friends in the neighborhood. But we feel it's necessary for our family's safety and peace of mind. I'm sad that it's come to this, but also angry. Why should we have to uproot our lives because of one unstable person? But Jake reminded me that our family's well-being has to come first. We haven't told many people about the move yet, just close family and friends. We're being extra careful about who knows our new address. It feels paranoid, but after everything that's happened, we can't be too careful. As we pack up our home, I've been hit with waves of nostalgia and sadness. This is the first home Jake and I bought together. It's where we brought the twins home from the hospital. There are so many happy memories here. I found myself crying as I packed up the nursery the other day. Jake found me sitting on the floor, surrounded by tiny clothes and stuffed animals. He just sat down next to me and held me while I cried. I'm so grateful for his steady presence through all of this. The twins are too young to really understand what's happening, but they can sense the tension. Ethan has been extra clingy lately, while Noah is having more tantrums than usual. It breaks my heart to see how this situation is affecting them, even indirectly. I've been having nightmares about Adam showing up at the new house or trying to take the twins. I know it's irrational, but I can't shake this fear that he'll find us no matter where we go. Jake suggested I start seeing my therapist again to work through some of this anxiety. In the midst of all this stress, we got some unexpected good news. I'm pregnant. We weren't planning on having more kids so soon, but life has a way of surprising you. I'm excited, but also terrified. What if Adam finds out? Will this baby ever be safe? Jake has been my rock through all of this. He's taken charge of most of the moving logistics so I can rest. He reminds me daily that we're in this together and that he'll do whatever it takes to keep our family safe. I'm trying to stay positive and focus on the fresh start this move represents. We're leaving the nursery furniture behind and we'll set up brand new rooms for the twins and the new baby. Jake and I are talking about planting a garden at the new house, something we've always wanted to do but never had the space for before. I know moving won't magically solve all our problems. Adam's actions have left deep scars that will take time to heal. But I'm hopeful that physical distance will help us feel safer and give us space to rebuild our sense of security. I'm nervous about starting over in a new town, but also excited for the possibilities. Maybe this is the fresh start we need to put this whole ordeal behind us and focus on our growing family. As we prepare for the move, I've been reaching out to old friends and rebuilding some of the relationships I let slip away during my marriage to Adam. It's been healing to reconnect and remember who I was before all of this drama. My college roommate even offered to come help us unpack at the new house, which meant the world to me. I'm also throwing myself into researching our new community. I've joined some local mom groups on Facebook and am looking into activities for the twins. There's a great library with toddler story time and a community center that offers swim lessons. I want the boys to feel settled and make friends as quickly as possible. Jake and I are trying to frame the move as an adventure for the twins. We've been reading books about moving and talking up all the exciting things at the new house, like the big backyard and the playground down the street. I hope their resilience will help us all adjust more easily. Work has been understanding about the situation, thankfully. They're allowing me to work remotely for the first month after the move to help us get settled. I'm grateful for their support and flexibility during this challenging time. As for Adam, we haven't heard anything more from him since the restraining order was granted. Part of me hopes he's finally gotten the message and will leave us alone. But I'm also wary that he might be plotting something else. We're staying vigilant and documenting everything, just in case. I know we have a long road ahead of us. Moving won't magically erase everything that's happened, but I'm cautiously optimistic about this new chapter for our family. We've been through so much already and come out stronger. I have to believe we can weather this storm too. For now, I'm focusing on the practical tasks of packing and preparing for the move. It helps keep my mind off worrying about what Adam might do next. One box at a time, we're building our new life. One that's free from the shadows of the past. I'll update again once we're settled in the new house. Thank you all for your support and kind words throughout this difficult time. It means more than you know.